Well, I guess we need a total and complete shutdown of guys in turbans driving big rigs.
Until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
Or just truck drivers named Singh, I guess, since they share that in common too. But it has happened again for the second time in just 3 months. An Indian illegal immigrant driving a semi-truck crashed into other drivers on the interstate, killing 3 people. And both of these guys obtained their commercial driver's licenses from the state of California. In August, it was Harjinder Singh who made an illegal U-turn on the Florida interstate, and a car full of Haitian immigrants crashed into his trailer. Harjinder Singh held a California CDL. This time on Tuesday, it was Jashanpreet Singh in San Bernardino County, also with a California CDL. There is dashcam video of this crash, and don't worry, it's not graphic in a gory way, but you can see how this truck driver plowed full speed into stopped traffic, not just because he wasn't paying proper attention, but because he was also on drugs, according to the criminal complaint and the charges. This Singh killed 3 people in this crash as well. He's currently held without bail and awaiting arraignment. Prosecutors say they will seek to keep him detained, given his flight risk. So not trustworthy enough to face justice honorably, but definitely trustworthy enough to drive 40 tons down the freeway right into your family. With licensing systems this lax, why even bother with licensing at all? Why not just let the undocumented drive undocumentedly too? That's a question for the state of California, no matter how much Governor Gavin Newsom denies it or explains it away. More on that in a moment. But first, how and why was this particular Mr. Singh even in the country to drive this truck in the first place? Well, he entered the country by way of apprehension at the Southern California border in 2022, as in he just showed up one day. And upon encounter, he said, "Hey, I'm one of those Biden-era asylum seekers, so I'll take my court date and my ticket for entry, please." And so he was given that court date in the year 21 Infinity and released into the U.S. in the meantime. And he's supposedly been in asylum proceedings ever since. Asylum from whom or what threat? Apparently Jafar had enough of him and chased him all the way to California, and he does the drugs to cope. Who knows? We haven't had the necessary due process yet to find out. Okay, but more importantly, how does an asylum seeker even become a commercial truck driver anyway, even if he is fleeing a credible threat, which he almost certainly is not? But on what basis does that qualify him to operate dangerous heavy equipment on the public thoroughfare? Well, if you're just sitting around waiting for your someday asylum hearing, you can get a work permit. It only takes 6 months, actually, and the Biden administration gave this guy a work permit. And from there, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to a California commercial driver's license, even if you stumble several times between each step. It is surprising to me to learn that despite federal baseline regulations on commercial driver's licenses, issuing them to non-citizens or non-permanent residents or people just here for whatever nonsense reason is actually legal, at least sometimes. They're called non-domiciled CDLs, and they're issued to someone who doesn't permanently live in the issuing state. And yes, that includes foreign nationals with temporary work authorizations like Mr. Singh. Now, there are federal rules and regulations that supposedly uphold testing standards for those applying, but in response to several crashes by these non-domiciled CDL holders recently, Trump's Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announced at the end of last month that federal restrictions on these non-domiciled CDLs will be tightened. They aren't banned outright, but now those receiving them must have certain specified employment visas and a mandatory federal immigration status check using a federal database. Because as a practical matter, with states issuing these licenses, how strict the rules actually are in application is really up to them. The federal government can say whatever it wants. If the states don't actually do it, it doesn't actually happen. Sean Duffy's policy change announcement singled out California in particular, saying with reference to a recent audit that 25% of California's non-domiciled CDLs were improperly issued for various reasons, primarily licenses extending beyond lawful presence in the country. And for that non-compliance, Duffy says California must pause the issuance of non-domiciled CDLs entirely, identify all of their unexpired non-domiciled CDLs that fail to comply with these regulations, and revoke those licenses that are out of compliance. And he's holding $40 million in federal transportation funds until they fix it. Unfortunately, in this case and the prior one in Florida in August, it's too little too late. Those licenses were already issued, those drivers were already driving, and now those on the road in danger from them are already taken. And beyond just the general immigration questions of whether somebody who just showed up at the border yesterday and said the magic word asylum should ever be eligible to drive these trucks at all, there are performance questions specific to these particular individuals, too. Obviously, the drugs in this latest case demonstrate that guy's not a qualified driver, but we're learning much more about that prior case in Florida, too. Turns out the signs that he sucked at driving were abundant, but California didn't care, and neither did Washington. The state of Florida has been investigating how this guy was even on the road to present such lethal danger in their state, and suing the states of Washington and California to get them to stop issuing licenses so recklessly. As mentioned, Harjinder Singh was licensed in California, but this after attempted licensure in Washington. Between March 10th and May 5th, 2023, Harjinder Singh failed a CDL test 10 times in Washington state, plus a failed air brakes test. And the company trying to get him licensed said he was fluent in English. He was not. And he still got a CDL in California shortly thereafter. The other day, I was trying to log into a bank account online, and I forgot the password 3 times. So they locked me out for hours for safety. But fair enough, I should have been more competent. A rule to that effect seems pretty fair for big rigs. You get 2, maybe 3 tries. After that, sorry, you got to wait a year. Or just never. You can go move cargo by hand cart in Mumbai instead, actually. So what is California doing? What is their explanation? Well, despite the undeniable fact that Governor Gavin Newsom isn't denying the state of California issued both CDLs in these fatal cases, he's deploying the only rabbit in his hat. But Trump, or since Trump can't really plausibly be blamed here, but feds. Newsom's press office released a statement saying, of course this event is tragic, but Transportation Secretary Duffy is doing the political bidding of the evil deportation queen Homeland Security Secretary Nome. These are the facts, Gavin says, by which he means these are the misleading talking points. Just like a CDL application in California, it's not in English. Has to be translated. The state does not determine commercial driver's license eligibility, Gavin says. Well, already fact 1 ain't factin'. Yes, the federal government has baseline safety standards that must be followed, but states are free to be more restrictive if they wish, and many are. Fundamentally, do the Sing licenses say California on them or not? If they do, and they do, that means California made the decision to issue them based on California criteria. Gavin continues, the federal government approved and renewed this individual's federal employment authorization multiple times, which allowed him to get a license under federal law. Well, as a top reply clarifies, considering this was 2022, wow, way to throw Joe under the 18-wheeler, Gavin. Joe Biden said I could, so we did. Yeah, but you also could have said no and not. Besides, if the federal government is incompetently and maliciously managed, as you're saying in this statement, why would mere baseline federal compliance be a defense? Shouldn't you craft wiser California policy to counter it if they're such evil idiots? Gavin adds, state rules and regulations for commercial driver's licenses must be consistent with the standards set in federal law. There is nothing in federal law that compels California to give a commercial driver's license to a guy who can't drive and can't speak English. Federal law and regulations set baseline safety standards, but they do not require issuing to anybody. That is states' discretion. Gavin closes, states must confirm all applicant information through federal databases. Yeah, and under Biden, the integrity of the database was undermined because anybody who said the magic word asylum was cleared in the database. Regardless, it is still entirely up to California, if they wish, to go beyond mere employment eligibility requirements, even dubious Biden-era eligibility, and assess on their own terms, is this person capable of safely operating this equipment or not? Can we even speak to this person in English to find out? And California didn't do that, allegedly thousands of times, and now people are dead on the freeway because of it. So fair's got to be fair. If Gavin thinks that these risks are acceptable for your family, we need mechanisms to ensure that he accepts the risks too. So, simple proposal to equalize. Every time one of these fatal illegal immigrant truck driver crashes happens, Gavin has to play real-life Frogger and successfully cross the couple dozen or so lanes on LA's I-5-405 interchange, while oncoming trucks driven by turban guys named Singh try to splatter him. Some will be drunk, some will be high, some will be just plain retarded, some all and more. And we'll live stream the event, and we'll bet on the drivers like horses, and we'll donate the proceeds to benefit the victim families. And sure, we won't have much of a country, but at least we'll have accountability, and entertainingly so. Or we could just forget the show and wise up and take the boring but sensible option instead. Make American truck drivers American again. End of solution. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on X. That is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to coming out and chat in my live streams as live on Wednesday and Sunday nights. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.